I climb down here. Through that tunnel and a ways downstream is the River Aire in West Yorkshire, but today I'm going to wander up this little tributary stream known simply as the Beck, which runs first through the industrial outskirts and then through the centre of a small and very old town mentioned in the Domesday Book in 1086. Not a particularly famous old town. It's got no castles, no really notable events from history beyond being once the place where the world's largest onion was grown, and that onion has since lost the record. I do have some personal history with the place, and I thought it would be nice to wander the stream, see some of the hidden bits of the town, and see what I can find. It is the time of bountiful nature, heading into autumn, berries are plenty, and I shall eat some now, off camera. My first proper find is modern e-waste, which I'll take, even though it looks like most of the gold has worn off the contacts. It shouldn't be in the river, and bits of it can be recycled. Deep pool shall cross and walk on the huge stones, which I'd guess come from a mill. There certainly were some dotted through the history of this place. Second e-waste find looks like a phone charging cable and some terracotta things. A bit of tile and a slightly curved piece, maybe part of a bowl. Unlikely to be a drainage pipe fragment, so thin as it is with such a wide curve. I can't fathom the purpose of these. They're in most of the rocks. Unlikely to be for fence posts, they're too narrow, and they're surrounded by a big square depression. Any ideas, anyone? Easily recognisable, the decorated surround of a hole fulfilling a Victorian foot warmer. I don't think I'll take it. I have several already and no use for them, but it is promising and suggests there may still be old things to find. Oh, string. Kinda slimy. Twig. And a little brass thing. Looks like it was a backing for something. I'm guessing it's the back of a small travel clock. Bit of a toilet or a cistern or a sink. Not particularly old, and no hazard to the water or the wildlife. I always check this little low pressure bit behind bridge footings if I can. It doesn't always pay off, but I've found some good things in these spots. Rim of a rising bowl for bread dough. Could be old, but very, very common find. So far that bridge has been the nicest structure, and barring the blackberries and the fish, the nicest part of the walk so far. And I don't know how old it is. Probably over 1 century, but certainly not more than 2. Onwards to the next one, which is considerably younger. Ooh, out of the corner of my eye, something shiny I spy. It's a sword. Wow, this is the first time I've ever found a sword in the wild, and I'm not going to let the fact that it's a tacky plastic toy one impinge upon my inner child's giddy excitement. I'll take it and dispose of it. My sword fighting days are probably behind me. A bit of tile, plain, no pattern, just algae. Rubbish first, then the ring beneath the water. Metal, but set in concrete. Oh well. I'm actually quite impressed, not with the quality of the graffiti, but with the fact that there isn't a dry bit under this bridge, and whoever wanted to spray paint here had to get a bit wet to do so. They did it anyway, knowing that only fellow taggers and a few strange river-walking folk like me would ever see. Although, thinking about it, rare though it is that I ever see anyone else in the rivers, I am here only briefly. Perhaps walking in the river is quite a popular activity for the people of this town. Second bit of brass for today, and it's a thing. The front plate of a switch housing from the early days of electricity, perhaps. Any other ideas? In the bag it goes, the same bag for trash and treasures alike. Ooh, mugwort. Not very tasty, but medicinally quite beneficial. Battery. That looked like something more interesting. Never mind. And so did that. So even though there's trash in this river, it's a surprisingly small amount. I shouldn't be impressed because there's still more than there should be, but I am. A little. Because rivers through towns with similar demographics to this one tend towards having a lot more trash in them. Or at least, that's a gross generalization based on my limited experience. Oh my goodness, there's a turn in the river. something metal and round. Aluminium, I think. Looks too industrial to be a pram wheel. Very nice of the builders to put this bit of a walkway alongside the deep bit, but the deep bit's kind of swallowing this end of it. It's tapering off into the void. So, how am I going to do this? Back the way I've come, or one giant step, which will probably result in a welly full of water, or a huge clothes-soaking splash. Well, I think the technique more than made up for the lack of grace by being remarkably successful. I remain mostly dry, on the outside at least. Almost the centre of town, and it's a little hidden jungle with little pieces of copper pipe. Now I wonder if that would make a good guitar slide. Nothing on this little beach, but hope springs eternal, and there's another one just ahead. Ooh, bit of a flagon. Sadly not enough for a positive identification of who filled the flagon with liquid, or what the liquid that filled it was. Little tubey thing. I think it's plastic, and it might have companions. Another beach, lacking things to find. Good thing I'm wearing wellies and I can find the things in water. This is not an interesting stop, and maybe not worthy of the awkward juggling of the camera and the bag. It's just some copper wire. Not a bad amount, and of course, where there's some, there's often more. The river does like to gather things of similar specific gravity together in small patches, and I think I see something. Little wheel. A roller made of solid brass. That's cool. More. Some insulated copper wire. Nope, can't see any more. So, I haven't moved, but I have moved my bag. And I found a little more bare copper wire, which is nice, and this thing, which looks intriguing. Cast iron, I think. A little stuck in the mud, but... Oh, I know what this is. It's an old weighing scale, missing some bits, quite crusty. But I have some other crusty bits from old weighing scales that were missing a crusty base, so I might take it, heavy though it is. Oh, more copper. No, this is a stick, but this is brass. Figurine of a woman sitting in a bustle dress, missing almost everything, but still, makes me happy to find something like this. Big slab of, looks like iron but feels like rock. Looks like ceramic. Nope, plastic. It's one of those. Electronic tag to supposedly prevent theft of an item, often clothes or bottles of spirit in supermarkets. Being as it's here, I don't suppose it was 100% foolproof. Bird feeder, and it's in good condition. I can use this come winter. Can never have too many bird feeders. Interesting lump of rust. Now, if I've been counting right, that bridge up ahead carries the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, and it looks and sounds like there's a line of kids fishing from it. I don't generally film other people if I can help it, so my approach to the bridge might be just patches of film. Plastic first, then the chunky iron ring, which could well have been something like a mooring ring from a canal boat, or a rowlock, or something industrial. What I can show of the bridge without showing the kids. Not the best view. Hopefully I'll get something better. Maybe from the other side. Oh. A gardening fork. Seeing as I have no use for it, and it's not coated with any toxic paint, and it's just steel gently rusting away into nothing, I shall leave it. It won't harm the environment. This is the second bell I've ever found mudlarking, and what a bell it is. A great big cowbell. Probably ornamental. I doubt this has ever hung around the neck of a cow. But it seems to be brass with a poor imitation of gold leaf flaking off it. It should ring quite well when I've unclogged the clanger. I'm all self-conscious now. The kids have seen me, asked me what I'm doing, asked how many subscribers I've got and what my profile name is, asked me if I'm local. I'm not, particularly. This is 20 miles from home. Third bell I've ever found. And the fourth. Quite nice, I guess. I have navigated past this deep pool and only gotten mildly scratched up in the process, and I am now out of sight line of the fishing children, so I can film this unusual bridge. It's roughly 200 to 240 years old. I couldn't find out exactly when this small portion of the UK's longest canal was completed, but that doesn't matter too much, does it? It's a gorgeous piece of engineering. I can't see any drips of a canal leaking through either, which means it's still fit for purpose. And this up ahead might be the first weir I've seen beneath a bridge, obviously designed to regulate the flow a bit, or channel it down the middle and away from the walls. Actually, it might not have originally been under the bridge. This next section looks like a later addition. I have captured the reflection of a plane. It can struggle, but it cannot escape me. Ooh, plastic. And the plane's reflection almost gotten away. Oh well. More plastic. Duty calls. Something down there. Okay, that wheel is either solid brass or ceramic, and I want to find out which. Looked more interesting in the water. It's cast aluminium, probably part of a bike, maybe a motorbike considering how thick it is. Poor little stream, so caged in. Even this beck is very constrained. It doesn't really get free until it joins the river. Yay, another bridge to explore. I can already see a few bits of plastic to pick up. And... oh, not plastic, rubber. A bouncy ball. Sharp eyes amongst you may notice something different in this turn. It wasn't a part of anything, just discarded in the river and somehow caught up, and I'm taking it. Oh gosh. Sorry, birdies. Any more? Okay, see a few pottery fragments, modern and plain. And a plastic model plate of, I'm guessing, a van. I'll leave the pottery and glass, take the plastic, and this. This I think was once cutlery. Anything else? Anything? Yes. Plastic. I saw a face, peeking out. Maybe the first baby pigeon I've ever seen, but such a fleeting glance, and I'm not sure. I don't want to scare it, so onwards. Oh, time for the bag camera juggling act. It is odd, don't you think? How I can spot something this tiny that's roughly the same colour as the water, a little brass clip, and now I look around for similar. There. Well, it's not copper, but this will have some copper in it. Samsung Galaxy, or an older model maybe. Unlikely now to have any function, but recyclable. A twig. An iron thing. Cheap thing, made to look like expensive wrought iron. Maybe a garden post for hanging a bird feeder off. And of course I'm going to pick up the children's garden fork. It's a perfect match for my little green rake which I found in a different little brook. The beck is, I think, the one on the right, and the one on the left a mere stream, but both of them are going to have to wait, for this spot was my target today. And when the young family have finished feeding the ducks, I shall cross over there to the back streets, since I'm a bit of a mess, muddy and scratched, and I don't fancy walking back to the car through the crowded town centre, past the curious eyes of all the townsfolk. A short roundup time. That was a fun lark. I didn't know what to expect really. I have seen the town centre area before, but very little of the rest. I did idly hope to find some really old things, but I think perhaps I'll need either a much better knowledge of pottery or a decent metal detector to stand a chance at that. I know there's an old dump site too in the town environs, and once upon a time somebody found an extremely rare and valuable cobalt blue cod bottle there, in pieces. I know that cobalt blue cod bottles aren't especially rare in general, but that particular one is one of only 2 known examples stamped with the logo of a particular coffee shop, and reportedly there's a collector somewhere willing to pay £35,000 for an example in good condition. But that dump site is downstream of where I got in, so that might be another video someday. Anyway, I shall almost certainly not be the one to find one. Bottle Digger Tom is a much more likely candidate. He's a YouTuber who I think actually lives in the area, and he does like to dig. So, the things I found were not particularly old and not particularly valuable, but I had a great time, and this bird feeder and this rake might actually get some future use. This phone might get recycled. These bits of copper and brass will mostly eventually get put to use, either in art and craft projects if they're too pretty to melt, or smelting projects, which might also be considered art projects if I manage what I have in mind. I found some nice candidates for electrolysis cleanup. There's a little mystery in at least one of the lumps of rust. These 2 small bells are trash, but the big one actually has a nice tone, and it would be a great shame to melt it down, big chunk of brass though it be. So I might scrape off the imitation gold leaf, which does look a bit tacky, replace the hanging rope, which is rotting, and polish up the brass. There is still a tiny bit of gold on this circuit board. I'll cut those bits off and put them in a bottle with all the other bits I found, which one day, long into the future, might add up to a whole gram of gold. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please give it a like, a comment, a share, subscribe if you haven't already, press a bell icon to get notifications. I'm aiming to be posting much more regularly to my Instagram in 2020, and I'm also aiming to put up a few finds and creations in my Etsy store. Both links are in the description. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.